will share his views today on the connection of the UN and the EU when it comes to protection of minorities. Mr. Valla, you have the word.
Thank you. So my name is Thierry Val. I'm the president of the CAP Freedom of Conscience. It's an organization born 30 years ago based on the human rights defenders and religious freedom and protection of minorities. We have a conscience status since 2016, and so thank you for the organizer to invite me. And they gave me a test to explain the role of the EU institution and the United Nations on the protection of minorities, and in particular protection of minorities in Pakistan. It's not so easy to explain this role of these two institutions because we are part of this institution. I'm NGOs, I'm the third United Nations, meaning the civil society. So my paper will be to explain what my organization tried to be involved at the EU level or United Nations level to try to influence the decision, resolution, or recommendations on Pakistan and other countries. So after this short introduction, I will start my papers. And the European Union and the United Nations have a major role in the protection of human rights. Let me start with the role of the European Union, the EU. The promotion of peace, security, and respect for fundamental rights and freedoms are some of the values and objectives of the European Union. If the EU treaties, like the Charter of Human Rights, ensures that the peoples of Europe, by establishing an ever closer union amongst themselves, shall a peaceful future based on common values. And they declare that the EU is founded on the indivisible and universal values of human dignity, freedom, equality, and solidarity. That the EU is based on the principle of democracy and the rule of law, and that the EU places the person at the very heart of this action by instituting the citizenship of the European Union and creating a space of freedom, security, and justice. After this introduction of what is the EU, then the EU also have a duty to ensure that its values are shared with its international partners. The EU institution have many mechanisms you can use. So I just choose one because it will take hours to explain all the mechanisms in the EU institution that we can use. One, because we have been involved in this one, and the one is actually running. This mechanism is a GSP+, Generalized System of Preferences. It provides a wide range of tariff preferences for imports into EU vulnerable developing countries in order to support poverty eradication, sustainable development, and the participation of these countries in the global economy, as well to strengthen the good governance. This preferential status is conditional on GSP+ countries demonstrating tangible progress in the implementation of the 27 international conventions on human and other rights. This is important tools because through this tool we can push countries like Pakistan to increase the human rights, to protect the minorities, and to change the situation that our two speakers tell the situation they tell us. So, the European Commission has confirmed that Pakistan's status under the Generalized System of Preferences Plus, GSP+, will remain in place until the end of 2023. To maintain its eligibility beyond that, Pakistan will have to comply with a number of newly adopted GSP+ conditions for the period of 2024-2034. In 2022, we, a number of NGOs that CAP has been part, delivered a memorandum signed by over 20 European NGOs to Vice President Joseph Borrell through the External Service Action, urging him to review Pakistan's GSP+ status. In September 2022, a conference organized under the auspices of Human Rights Without Frontiers at the Press Club in Brussels called on the European institution to act on Pakistan's persistent human rights violations, particularly with regard to blasphemy laws and disrespect for the presumption of innocence. Given that Pakistan's behavior clearly violates the obligation for GSP Plus beneficiaries to ratify the 27 International Convention. We respectfully ask how can the High Representative justify Pakistan continuing GSP Plus status? And this question is still actual. I will now focus on the role of the United Nations in the protection of minorities in Pakistan. The UN has implemented mechanisms to obtain resolution or recommendation to urge member states to improve or change their internal human rights governance system. In January 2026, the UPR Working Group at its 42 session reviews Pakistan. During this review, member states and NGOs were able to express their concerns and make recommendations to Pakistan to ensure that the rights of minorities are respected. Our organization did a statement and also a submission to this UPR session in Pakistan. The Human Rights Council, which we are attending today, is an important place to bring Pakistan face to face with its obligation to respect the treaties that it has signed, like the ICCPR. I come to the Human Rights Committee. It's an important committee. UN experts and civil society can pressure Pakistan to comply with its commitment and to respect articles of the conventions and all the articles. The 139th session of the Human Rights Committee, which will take place from October 9, 2023 to November 3, 2023, will review the list of issues on Pakistan. So it is an opportunity for our civil society to raise our concern regarding Pakistan by doing submission, reports, and by doing data. The role of the European Union and the United Nations in the field of minorities protection is to keep independent mechanisms and bodies free from all external influence and to appoint independent experts and rapporteurs. It is on this basis that these two institutions will be able to play their role in helping states to respect their commitments to human rights and in allowing civil society to make its voice heard so that these same rights are fully respected. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Valle. He already mentioned one of the keywords for our next speakers, blasphemy laws. So I would like to introduce our last speaker, Ms. Manab Sami. She's a researcher on environmental American studies and international politics. She's also a writer on climate change and gender equality, and I have the pleasure to give her the last speaker spot today.
Thank you so much. I would like to thank Mr. Sital for the invitation, as well as my colleague Thierry for introducing me to the organization. I'm really happy to be here today and thankful for this opportunity to share my views regarding blasphemy laws in Pakistan, but also regarding women's rights in Pakistan and promoting women's rights as well as human rights in Pakistan and South Asia. So blasphemy laws and accusations frequently end in death in Pakistan. An irate crowd broke into a police station in the Punjab area in early February 2023 and murdered a guy inside. When the mob was not happy, they took the victim outside and attempted to set his body on fire. Muhammad Waris, a man in his mid-30s, was the victim of the lynching by adhering photos to pages of the Quran and hurling them on the ground. As he was taken into prison by the police for the claimed crime, they failed to protect him, giving the mob a chance to take revenge. This is not an uncommon case, unfortunately, in Pakistan today. People convicted of blasphemy are all too regularly subject to the fury of the government or the crowd. After being accused of blasphemy, a man was burned alive in the Ghouti region in October 2022. According to the reports, the attacker, Hassan Kaular, committed the assault because he thought the man who was residing at a nearby shrine had been performing devotion in front of several graves. Every time, the same tragic series of things happen. Individual accused of blasphemy and then subjected to the extrajudicial judgment of Muslim men mobs, which is frequently murderous. The main issue here is Pakistan blasphemy laws. These laws effectively encourage religious intolerance because blasphemy is punishable by death or a life sentence. The Pakistani government does not view it that way. It asserts that these laws are necessary to appease the enraged crowds. They are seen as a remedy for gang justice. In fact, the existing blasphemy laws were actually strengthened by Parliament earlier this year. Whether the Pakistani government wants to acknowledge it or not, it is obvious that these blasphemy laws are escalating rather than reducing social and religious tensions. Pakistan's attempt to reduce extremism by increasing the penalty for blasphemy to life sentence sends a wrong message, especially to young people, as Sarah L. Gates, director of Hindu Human Rights Committee in Australia, points out. The lynching of Muhammad Waris was captured on camera with young people participating, according to Gates. It makes sense, I quote, to decriminalize blasphemy and educate the community from a young age toward de-radicalization, end of quote, given the age of some of the perpetrators. The involvement of children in the lynching and murder of people accused of blasphemy indicates that Pakistani society is becoming more intolerable as a result of blasphemy laws. It is time for the Pakistani government to face reality. Its ever tougher anti-blasphemy laws are ineffective. Increased blasphemy laws only serve to make the accused more of a target, and mob justice is on the rise. Whether a person is convicted in court or not, it is no longer relevant. Too frequently, blasphemy is punishable by death just by being accused of it. And we had the opportunity in the European Parliament to meet the couple Shafkat Emmanuel, who came to the European Parliament thanks to Human Rights Without Frontiers and to the support of members of the European Parliament. And unfortunately, they were accused of blasphemy and they fled the country. And they were also supported by a Muslim lawyer who helped them to escape the country and come to Europe. So this is one of the cases of blasphemy laws and people accused wrongly, by these laws. The blasphemy laws are mostly used against religious minorities. According to the Pakistani National Commission for Justice and Peace, Christians, Hindus, and Ahmadiyya Muslims constitute the accused in almost half of the blasphemy cases in the country, even though together they make up less than 5% of the whole population. However, these laws were almost maintained by the country, and the laws they became harsher after 1988. Numbers of clauses were added to the laws to appease the Islamists or to Islamize the country and to isolate the Ahmadiyya community, and who were declared non-Muslim in 1973. According to the International Journal of Science and Research stated in 2019, I quote, in Pakistan, many people are on death row or serving life sentences for blasphemy in Pakistan than in any other country in the world, end of quote. This means that, I quote, Pakistan has the past several decades been battling sectarianism, while targeted killings and sectarian acts of terrorism may currently be down. In the past, the nation has witnessed grotesque massacres of innocent people carried out by sectarian death squads, end of quote. These laws have to be repealed. Whereas the obscenity laws have excessively and overwhelmingly hurt non-Muslims in Pakistan, numerous of those victims have been Muslims themselves. In some cases, these are people focused on for individual quarrels. Be that as it may, numerous as Muslims who embrace convictions considered unique from those authorized by majoritarian universality. The belief system of takfir, or banning Muslims, is based on banning dissimilar convictions and penalizing those considered blameworthy by Islamic law or Sharia. The takfiri belief system feels deadly Sharia codes and jihadi benches alike. Now I move on to women's rights violation in Pakistan. Pakistani women's circumstances are as worse as their Afghan sisters. In contrast to Pakistan, which confuses the topic to divert attention, the Afghan Taliban are open about their hate towards women and educating women. The World Women Peace Security Index rates 170 countries, with Pakistan coming in at number 167. On the World Gender Gap Index, it came in at the position of 153. Human Rights Watch claims that Pakistan suffers from a plague-like crisis of women abuse, including rape, murder, acid attacks, domestic violence, and forced marriages. In its 2022 report, forced conversions and the abduction of young Hindu and Christian girls for forced marriage have not been mentioned by Human Rights Without Frontiers. According to these data, Pakistan is the second worst country in terms of gender disparity. I would conclude by this. For all these reasons, the EU and the UN, as well as international community, should promote gender equality and fight against violence against women and girls in Pakistan and South Asia. It is urgent to put pressure on Pakistani government to put an end to blasphemy laws and protect religious minorities, as well as fight against extremism and radicalism among young people through education and sensitization. I would end up with Malala Yousafzai's quote, "One child, one teacher, one book, one pen can change the world." Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Sam. So we've heard a lot of views today on the human rights issues in Pakistan, in the Sindh region, in Balochistan, the situation of minority rights, and lastly, the interaction with the UN and the possible role the UN and the EU could have played on gender equality now. So I would love to give the audience the remaining couple of minutes that we have in order to address the experts we have here today, to address the speakers. So if you have possible questions, please raise your hand. Yes, I see in the second row. Please use your microphone.
Red button.
There's a red button. And
On top of it, yeah.
It's working. First of all, thank you for coming and giving this very insightful information about the violations of human rights violations in Pakistan. I want to ask a question regarding blasphemy laws in Pakistan. As you said, blasphemy is criminal ranging from mandatory life sentence to death penalty. Do you think there is a correlation between the existence of this law and governmental discrimination against minorities in general and in Pakistan? Thank you.
As I explained in my paper, I believe that the government used these laws just to appease tension, as it is mentioned that it is try to appease tension, especially regarding extremist groups and Islamist groups. But this is not the main, the best strategy. What the EU tried to implement with Pakistan through the GPS Plus mechanism is that to protect the minorities, religious minorities, as well as women's rights, and to end blasphemy laws in return to this economic agreement with the EU. In the sense that they believe that the government would protect these minorities. But of course, as I said, I believe that the government implements these laws just to appease tension, but we have the opposite of that. We justify this hatred, we justify this violence towards people who are accused of blasphemy laws, and the mob group taking revenge and giving themselves the opportunity to be justice seekers. Thank you.
thank you. I have a question.
Sorry. No problem. Just to add very shortly something that because our organization is very concerned also about the Ahmadiyya community Muslim in Pakistan, and most of the crime against this community is not from government, but it's just because this blasphemy law gives an opportunity, is a green light for extremities to attack the Ahmadiyya mosque or Ahmadiyya people, and this is the law has to be changed. And yes, so the law by itself is not doing so. The government by itself is not doing something, but the law by itself it give a green light to extremists.
Thank you both. Now I would like to give the floor to the gentleman in the third row who raised his hand earlier.
Thank you, ma'am, for giving insight on floods. Really, Pakistan is in a devastating state of floods. My humble submission to the speaker is that Pakistan is at lower upline. The floods come from upper upline to lower upline. And number two, the global warming 1.5 degree to 5 degree, who are the responsible for this is the matter question.
Did someone, yes? Mr.
Thank you very much for your comment. Now coming back to the situation of lower riparian, it applies to the water flow system. So say for example, when as if according to you the water was there because a lot of water came in the industry. That is the case is no, number one. Number two, it is because of the rain. And then it is because of the mismanagement and because of the criminal negligence. It is because of rain. And I tell you one thing, when you say lower riparian to this, Manchar Lake was allowed to full, and I told you in my presentation, the capacity of Manchar Lake is 370 million cubic meters of water. And when just imagine, when that is cut, 370 million cubic foot of water, what would happen? And why did they cut it? Why they didn't allow when the river was already river Indus never reached to its maximum capacity during this flood episode. There is a canal called Adalwa, and they should have allowed when it was river Indus was empty. Why they didn't allow this water to go to the river Indus, which has got more than to accommodate 10 Manchar lakes? Why did they allow to collect that water and then allow this to? So this is a criminal negligence. Not only that criminal negligence, they allowed people to drown. They never came to rescue them. They never came for their relief. They even now, say for example, this is the Pakistan's figure. In Sindh, 1.8 million houses have been destroyed. Have they constructed a single house? Have they constructed a single house? Have they constructed a single house? It is a criminal negligence and it is a genocide. And it is the international community to investigate this and find is it a genocide or not. In our view, our case is yes, it is a genocide. Yes. Thank you very much.
It is genocide because of rise of temperature.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rohana. I do have two more questions. Yes, please, the woman, and then I'll try to get.
So I want to add something to this. You know, even in Assam, there was a breach of embankments done by some Rohingya who had come to India. And so there was another man-made flood that was created in Assam. So when we heard about Sindh, we felt like there was too much of a coincidence. There seems to be some sort of a man-made flood in Sindh, as you pointed out. So it was really good to hear about that. Thank you so much. My question was actually to ma'am. I think I've been working for quite a bit on this issue, and one of the things we've done recently is created a global alliance of women, who are against this sort of radicalism and rape, which is spreading across many countries, including UK, where we have grooming gangs, with a lot of 809 Pakistani men were caught there. But what I want to talk about is Chanda Maharaj. Recently, a girl was abducted. She was 15 years old. She was, because of at least the law, supported and took her back from the abductor. But because she was married, because she was converted into a Muslim, she cannot go back to her Hindu family. So now that is, very much against some of the laws. Sindh has a marriage act, Hindu marriage act now. I was wondering if there is any way for redressal for Chanda. She's languishing in a shelter home at this time in Pakistan. So instead of going back to her family, she, probably is going to wait till she's 18 and then be sent back to the abductor. I was wondering if there's something that can be done. Take one case and just sort this out.
Yeah, as I mentioned, for instance, what the European Parliament did with Shafkat Emmanuel, what happened with this couple who are Christian wrongly by blasphemy laws. There was a lawyer who took in charge this case, and there was a kind of international and European campaign about their case, and they raised awareness. A lot of human rights NGOs raised awareness about this particular case. So I believe that media plays a very, very important role, but also raising awareness in international institutions like this case. I have just heard about it now. I believe that you need to work a lot on this case in terms of media, but also raising awareness regarding this case in international institutions, in the European Parliament, in the UN, and asking for help for this particular case, because this girl is only 15, so she's not an adult. She cannot take decision by herself. So it's important to protect her. Also raise awareness with the children's organizations, to UNICEF. So we are here in the United Nations, so UNICEF should act for this girl. She's only 15. And we believe that religious freedom is very important. And with your NGO, you are protecting freedom of belief and also religious freedom. And I think that you should also raise awareness regarding this case, and maybe together we can do something with all these NGOs in the European sphere and also at an international level. But we have to speak about it.
Thank you very much for the response. I know I have one more question, but I promised to end at 3 o'clock sharp, and I would like to close the session in a proper way. So please, if you have remaining questions, the speakers are not running away. I hope, and you will be able to ask these questions outside, maybe with a coffee in your hand. That leaves me to say thank you very much for attending our talk on the human rights in Pakistan. Thank you very much.